Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation G VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be trying out the strongest Kyurem-White team that I've seen so far in this format. This team finished in the top 32 of the Indianapolis Regional Championships, which was the very first major tournament of this format, and this was the only Kyurem-White team to even make it till the second day of competition. Kyurem-White is just really underrated and underplayed at the moment. When you throw an Assault Vest onto it, it can really take special attacks well, and it can deal massive amounts of damage, and you have incredible type coverage as well. Kyurem, of course, gets access to moves like Blizzard, Earth Power, as well as Fusion Flare, and you also have Freeze Dry, which is really nice because a lot of times people are going to want to use Water-type Pokemon and Water Terras to get around Kyurem's Ice-type attacks, but of course, Freeze Dry allows you to hit those Pokemon for super effective damage afterwards. You also have some really fun support on this team, like Alolan Nineales with Fake Tears, as well as Aurora Veil, and a Coil Leftovers Milotic with Life Dew, which can really disrupt opposing teams, put things to sleep, and also, of course, heal up your team. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoyed, would really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's dive into things. As always, if you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen as well as down in the description below, as well as a paste for the team. Now, as mentioned, this team is very heavily centered around Kyurem-White, just dealing massive amounts of damage. You've got incredible type coverage, so you're often looking to either just deal super effective damage with this Pokemon and aim to pick up knockouts, or just spam Blizzard. Alolan Ninetales is an amazing partner for it because it's able to set up the snow for Kyurem. You're also able to drop your opponent's special defense with Fake Tears, and it can be really annoying to deal with this combo, right? Because the Kyurem is bulky with Assault Vest, but when you have Fake Tears on Ninetales, it can also look to just pick up knockouts immediately. Aurora Veil makes Kyurem even bulkier, and the Milotic on this team supports Kyurem by going for moves like Life Dew as well as Hypnosis. Life Dew, of course, healing up the Kyurem, Hypnosis putting opposing Pokemon to sleep. Indeedee is also a nice partner because they can just be next to Kyurem, redirect super effective attacks away from the Kyurem, and of course go for Helping Hand as well. And Indeedee Ursaluna gives you a combo where you can of course set up Trick Room. Finally, you've got Scarf Urshifu, which is also nice on this team because it threatens with a lot of damage and is the fastest Pokemon on this team and allows you to lead something like Urshifu Kyurem, which is particularly valuable into opposing teams with weather. You can just U-turn out, bring out the Ninetales, and then click Blizzard immediately. Breaking down each individual Pokemon, the first one to highlight, of course, is Kyurem-White. I think Kyurem-White is a really fun pick because it can hit so many Pokemon in the format for super effective damage. Think about the pool of non-restricted Pokemon. Tornadus, Water Urshifu, Rillaboom, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Raging Bolt, Pelipper. Kyurem can hit all of those Pokemon for super effective damage. It's also just a relatively tanky Pokemon, and when you have an Assault Vest on this team with the Snow Boost from Alolan Ninetales and Aurora Veil and Life Dew from Milotic, this Pokemon can stay on the field for a long period of time. The main thing to note is, of course, you're going to be running a slower Kyurem here, so don't expect to outspeed a lot of things in like the 95 speed tier range. Generally, Kyurem can soak up attacks, and so it's not often like actually outspeeding things and getting knockouts, especially against these faster paced teams that a lot of people like to use in this format. But the idea is that you have so much bulk that it's fine moving after your opponent. So yeah, the goal with Kyurem is to just be on the field and threaten with a lot of immediate super effective damage, and ideally just try to pick up knockouts. Ninetales, as I mentioned, is a really great partner for the Kyurem here because you're able to set up the snow for it, give it the defense buff, and also, of course, go for disruption with Fake Tears. Aurora Veil, also just an incredible move. Of course, there's a lot of weather in the format, so you're going to have to be careful about actually getting this up. For example, if you're up against Tornadus, it can go for Rainy Dance, or Rain Dance. If you're up against like Groudon or Kyogre or Miraidon, for example, all of those Pokemon can naturally change the weather, so you have to be careful about just clicking your Aurora Veil, but against teams that have no weather control, you can just fully take advantage of it and set up Aurora Veil immediately for Kyurem. Milotic is a really fun support option on this team. This is a really specially defensive Milotic, which obviously is really valuable into all the special attackers that exist, like Calyrex Shadow Rider, for example, as well as Terapagos. And the idea is that this Pokemon can just stay on the field for a long time. Incineroar is one of the most common Pokemon in the format, and Milotic has an amazing matchup against Incineroar. Incineroar can't really deal very much damage to Milotic, and if you bring Incineroar out, you're going to activate competitive, right? And so that gives Milotic an immediate special attack boost, which is really, really nice. You can also switch this in on Parting Shots, for example, to get boosts as well. And the idea is that Milotic, if positioned correctly and it gets a Coil off, can just start spamming Hypnosis and really start disrupting opposing teams. Life Dew in particular is an awesome move that allows you to heal both Milotic and your teammate, and this synergizes particularly well with the Kyurem on this team as well as the Urshifu on this team. So don't expect Milotic to do a ton of damage, but it's often valuable bringing into matchups when your opponent has an Incineroar. A lot of people like bringing in Incineroar because they see Kyurem and Ninetales and they think, well, I want a fire type against the two ice types, but of course Milotic can capitalize off of that. Grass Terra, really valuable just to allow you to resist things like grass and electric type attacks as well. To round out the team, you've got the combination of Indeedee and Ursaluna. This gives you a Trick Room core. Pretty standard stuff. The main thing to note here is that the Ursaluna is indeed max HP. Some people like to use speed on Ursaluna, but with this team not having any Tailwind, for example, or Icy Wind, it makes sense for Ursaluna to just be as bulky and slow as possible, and so you can fully lean into slow Ursaluna with Trick Room. This Indeedee is a little bit different from Indeedees that you might expect to see because it's got Citrus Berry rather than something like Focus Sash or Safety Goggles. The Sash is already taken on the Ninetales here, and Citrus just makes it easier to set up Trick Room. It means you can lead something like Indeedee plus Ursaluna and just protect Trick Room turn 1, or something like Kyurem plus Indeedee and just go for immediate damage with Kyurem. Urshifu Indeedee, another great lead where you can just U-turn out, bring out your Ursaluna under Trick Room as Indeedee sets up Trick Room. The Citrus Berry just makes it harder for your opponent to basically knock this out, even if they launch 2 attacks into it, which I find really valuable. The other thing to note here is Grass Terra, which helps out against Amoonguss, as well as Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gives you really good coverage into random things, especially something like Calyrex Shadow Rider. Against Shadow Rider, Indeedee can just wall the Astral Barrage and retaliate back with Shadow Ball, which I think is really awesome. So by having Indeedee and Ursaluna on the team, you definitely give yourself a favorable matchup in a Shadow Rider, and Kyurem with the Assault Vest can also take attacks pretty well. Final Pokemon is this Choice Scarf Urshifu. Scarf Urshifu, I think, is nice to clean up with this team. So a lot of times I'll find myself leading Ninetales Kyurem, and then I distribute some damage across the board. Urshifu then comes out, outpaces my opponent, and then just knocks out everything with Surging Strikes. I often like leading with this as well, where I can go with something like Urshifu Kyurem or Urshifu Indeedee lead, and then just U-turn out immediately, disrupt my opponent while, for example, setting up Trick Room or just getting damage off with Kyurem, and then bring Urshifu out once again in the late game to close out the game. So this just gives you a faster option, because without this, like, the rest of the team other than Ninetales is relatively slow. So yeah, in terms of ways of playing with the team, I think leading Kyurem I often find fairly safe. This is just such a bulky Pokemon, and there aren't actually that many Pokemon that threaten this with an immediate knockout. So then it's about figuring out, okay, does my opponent have any weather control? Because if not, I think Ninetales Kyurem is just immediately really good. Do I think they'll lead Incineroar or something that can activate competitive? Competitive, by the way, can activate from any stat drop, right? And so this is valuable against Icy Wind or something like Parting Shot, for example, or even Bleak Wind Storm speed drops. So Milotic, I think, can be an interesting option if you think you can just like go for Coil immediately on turn 1 and start going for sleeps. If you want to think about the Trick Room angle, I think something like the Urshifu Indeedee is really strong. With Indeedee, I think I also like considering Ninetales Indeedee, although this is a lot more passive, and then Kyurem Indeedee, where you have to respect the option of Trick Room as well as damage from Kyurem immediately. So yeah. In terms of weaknesses, the first thing to note, of course, is that Kyurem does really like having the snow up. So if you're able to control the weather, that can be really valuable. Whether it be something like Rain Dance, Sunny Day, or of course your own Pokemon that can control the weather as well. So that just disrupts this a little bit more and makes it harder for Kyurem to just feel fully comfortable. It means that Ninetales has to think a little bit more about clicking Aurora Veil, whereas in teams that have no weather control, Ninetales can just click it on turn 1 often and just put on a lot of disruption immediately. One of the things that I've run into is that this team doesn't have Protect on anything other than Ursaluna, so I've sometimes caught myself in bad positions where I'm like, oh, I can't like just protect one Pokemon and switch another Pokemon in, so you have to be really careful about that. Kyurem in particular, of course, is Fairy Terra, so what that means is you're always going to be weak to Steel type attacks. I played against one opponent while practicing with this team that had Zamazenta, and they were just able to comfortably go for Heavy Slam into Kyurem, and whether or not I tear it, I was still going to take super effective damage, and so Steel type Pokemon and Steel type attacks in particular can be a little bit tricky to deal with as well. And the Kyurem here is going to be a little bit slower, and so I've had a lot of games as well where I like go for Fairy Terra defensively, it doesn't work out, it doesn't end up resisting or becoming immune to an attack that I was hoping for, and then Fairy is a nice type, but then it opens up a lot of more neutral attacks, right? Whether it be something like Surging Strikes from Urshifu or Miraidon's electric type attacks, and so that's one thing to think about as well. And so yeah, I think overall the main thing to consider is that because you don't have Protect on a lot of Pokemon, you just have to be a little bit more careful. One thing that I found myself sometimes vulnerable to is just like double ups onto a slot. Indeedee is helpful in preventing fake out pressure on turn 1, but if like you don't end up bringing Indeedee, then you lead Ninetales Kyurem, it's very easy for your opponent to just like go for fake out and double up onto something. And so double ups in particular is another thing to watch out for. And then of course you've got Ursaluna, Water Urshifu, and Milotic, so they share a lot of weaknesses to grass type attacks. And so Rillaboom, for example, I wouldn't say is necessarily a problem for this team, but for example, well positioned Rillaboom can be scary if you end up bringing like all of these, for example, right? So just be careful because these Pokemon share a lot of weaknesses, and that can be a little bit scary at times as well. So yeah, those are just a couple of notes. All right, we've got one of the strongest Terrapagos teams that people have been using lately. We've seen different versions of this team, but it did very well at the first regional championships of this format. You got Urshifu, Tornadus, Flutter, Chi-Yu, Terrapagos, and Amoonguss. I think one of my main questions is whether or not they've got the Rain Dance on Tornadus there. We have a lot of cool things that we can do into this team comp. But I think I generally really value just Ninetales plus Kyurem immediately. We're going to want Urshifu to deal with Terapagos, I think. I'm honestly not opposed to just leading Ninetales plus Kyurem. Force them to Rain Dance with Tornadus. Have Urshifu in the back. The Urshifu here is Water Terra, so that's good both offensively and defensively. I think Milotic's actually pretty interesting here with Leftovers and Life Dew as well as Hypnosis. So, I'm down to go for those. I think, like, part of me wants to go with Trick Room here since their team is relatively fast-paced, but Amoonguss causes a lot of issues for us here. The way around that would be to go for Grass Terra Indeedee, essentially. But then something like Chiyu plus Amoonguss would give me a ton of trouble because I can't cover for Spore and Heat Wave. They're going to go with Tornadus plus the Urshifu. Okay, works for me. My guess here is that they're going to want to either Tailwind or Rain Dance, but you can't go for both, which is a big deal here. I actually don't mind switching the Ninetales out into Milotic right now. Going for Terra here. And then Freeze Dry into Urshifu. Yeah, I'm down for this. I think I have to now, however, be a little bit careful about Terra Starstorm from Terapagos in the back. But Milotic is really bulky, and we can look to just fish for Hypnosis immediately. Like, against Choice Specs Terapagos, if I get Hypnosis onto it, they're just going to be in so much trouble. Because, like, Tornadus isn't really going to offer that much offense. I'm going for the Terra here just to make sure I can resist close combat in case they go for it. Because something like Rain Dance plus close combat into Kyurem would be kind of nasty. So, yep, there's the Rain Dance. Cool. So we don't get baited by that. And close combat. Perfect. Cool. Let's see if they're Focus Sash on Urshifu now. A lot of people run Choice Scarf, so it'd be amazing to just secure the knockout here. Beautiful. Alright, not a bad start to the game. This, however, now means a relatively free switch into the Terapagos. So let's see if they bring that out. Yep. Okay. So now you can just go for something like Tailwind plus Terra Starstorm. I personally would like to go for Hypnosis here onto Terapagos. You don't even need a Tailwind. You could just Bleak Windstorm here, honestly. So I'm down to go for Hypnosis and switch into Ninetales right now. Now, Hypnosis obviously can miss very frequently. So I shouldn't bank the game off hitting this. But I think we have room to potentially go for a second one the subsequent turn. But right now, they are in an interesting spot where you can just click Tailwind or Bleak Windstorm and Terra Starstorm into everything. Question is whether or not you want to go for your Terra with Terapagos here. Okay, looks like the answer is yes. Makes sense. Switching in Ninetales here also means that Bleak Windstorm now is not 100% accurate, so my opponent has a chance to miss either slot. Okay, it's no stops. I guess because they went for Terra, they would have gotten rid of their own rain anyway, actually. Bleak Wind doesn't do too much here. Drops our speed, which means competitive now activates, which is quite nice. And here's Terra Starstorm now. Should be Choice Specs Terapagos. 165 down to 94. Ninetales Feints, that's okay. This gives us a free switch into Urshifu now. And Hypnosis connects. That's absolutely huge. Beautiful. Okay. Now we are in really great shape, I think. I can bring Kyurem back out. You have to take a turn of sleep with the Terapagos. I was thinking about actually bringing Urshifu out and then just clicking close combat. The problem with that is they could just like Tailwind and then switch Terapagos out. Right now I have a relatively free Coil or Life Dew. Or Scald. I like Life Dew the most here and heal up Kyurem. Life Dew and Freeze Dry into Tornadus. Yep, so they set up Tailwind. They stay asleep for the first turn here. Kyurem gets Freeze Dry into the Tornadus. And you're not Focus Sash, so Kyurem's picked up 2 one-hit knockouts so far, which is pretty awesome. And we're going to get Life Dew off with Milotic. Milotic's really proven its worth so far, right? Like, in the time that it's been in the battle, it's been able to put a huge threat to sleep. It's been able to heal up both it and its teammate and get a competitive boost as well through the Bleak Wind Storm. There's so many things that can activate competitive in the format right now, so I think this next turn will be absolutely crucial. It looks like Chi-Yu. Okay, so Scald from Milotic obviously is going to be quite good into that. I think here I am down to just Scald into Chi-Yu. And go for Freeze Dry into Terapagos. Okay, they go for Dark Pulse here. And they stay asleep. Nice. I think with them staying asleep for another turn here, unless we flinch, which we don't, and they're not Focus Sashed either, yeah, that should be game over, I think. I was mainly curious whether or not they would have gotten the knockout onto Kyurem, given that we have Assault Vest, and I do want to do that damage calc, since obviously we've Terrad, so they do more damage. But now we can just Scald again, and Freeze Dry again. Excuse me. And Terapagos actually stays asleep for a third turn, so we were definitely quite fortunate in this game. Like, Milotic was not only able to connect with the Hypnosis, but was also able to, end up getting a 3-turn sleep there. I think the main decision that I was thinking about in this game was whether or not I should have brought Urshifu out over Kyurem when I brought it out, because the Urshifu would have pressured Terapagos with close combat immediately, and would have maybe forced it to switch out. Like I said, my opponent's response to that would be switching Terapagos out into Chi-Yu, probably sacrificing it. But the problem is that they have Flutter or Amoonguss as their last one, and I go for close combat onto that slot, and then they click Bleak Wind Storm. It can get really ugly. So I want to do the Terra Starstorm calc onto Kyurem, just because I'm curious. So the Terra Starstorm calc against our Kyurem-White, which is 100 HP, 100 special defense with the Assault Vest, does a maximum of 192 damage, and Kyurem had over 200 HP, so even with the Beads of Ruin, Kyurem is surviving that 100% of the time, unless they get a critical hit. And then the Milotic here is actually also surviving the Terra Starstorm with Beads of Ruin as well, so both of our Pokemon would have survived just with a little bit of HP. I think I maybe could have played that endgame better by actually doubling up onto the Terapagos slot with Scald plus Freeze Dry, taking advantage of the fact that Chi-Yu had Beads of Ruin activated, because Chi-Yu in that position could have protected. It could have had Focus Sash as well, and so knowing that I had Water Urshifu in the back, I think the better play there is to actually double up onto the Terapagos. But in the end, Kyurem and the Milotic were absolutely incredible in this game, so I'm super happy about their performance. I think one other way I could have approached this game was actually try to just knock out Tornadus with Freeze Dry on turn 1. The main thing is I would figure Tornadus was more likely to be Focus Sash there than Urshifu, and so I wanted to get rid of Urshifu first and just get a knockout immediately. It would have felt kind of bad if I Freeze Dry into Tornadus, they're at 1 HP, and then you have Torn and Urshifu out on the field going into the next turn, but they probably were Covert Cloak, given that they did just get one shot by Freeze Dry. So if I got rid of Tornadus on turn 1, that would have meant no more speed control for them, and then so my Urshifu would have been able to just threaten, for example, their Chi-Yu with Surging Strikes or Close Combat, and Terapagos with Close Combat as well. The main problem here is my opponent was actually able to set up Tailwind, and so as a result, Scarf Urshifu is fairly vulnerable in the back. But yeah, that was a really fun game. Is going to be a Miraidon team, but with some really interesting support. Bundle, Landorus, Instant, Serena, and Pelipper. I mean, Kyurem should be amazing here, right? Like, Freeze Dry has such good coverage across the board. Against Miraidon, I think we definitely want to consider just bringing out Ursaluna. Probably don't want Milotic here. If I were them, I wouldn't bring Incineroar. I'd probably go Pelipper. I mean, I would definitely go Pelipper, Bundle, Miraidon. And then Landorus, I think, as a 4 makes a lot of sense from their end. Could still consider leading Ninetales here. I think Bundle plus the Miraidon as a lead makes a ton of sense from their end. Huh. I'm actually intrigued by something like Indeedee, Kyurem, Ninetales, Ursaluna. Ursh I don't love here when they have Bundle, Serena, and Miraidon. especially because we're Water Terra. Like, both of these are just obviously really weak to the Miraidon. I think Milo you could make an argument for, but Hypnosis is also so much weaker in this matchup. Like, we are Grass Terra here, right? So it gives us a resistance, but the point I wanted to make is Hypnosis is a lot less effective because they have electric terrain. And we're not super accurate unless I get a coil off, right? And their team is mainly special, so it's hard to see myself, like, getting free coils and soaking up a lot of damage without getting punished. I also think, like, Blood Moon under Trick Room can put in a lot of work here, and Indeedee has Grass Terra as well, which can help against Miraidon, but it's going to be Instant Serena. Wow, okay. Well, Indeedee sets up terrain immediately here, but they could obviously switch into Miraidon to get Fake Out on turn 1. Do have Helping Hand here. Got Ninetales in the back. Serena might have Taunt here. Like, getting Trick Room up here would be pretty sweet. They might just double up onto Indeedee, honestly. I'm not opposed to something like just Helping Hand and Freeze Dry turn 1. Try to get rid of Serena. Okay, they committed Terra here. It's probably on Serena. Fire. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, nice. Well, that's why Freeze Dry is amazing. And we're just faster. Oh my goodness. This is why Kyurem is such an awesome Pokemon though, right? Like, having Freeze Dry to cover for those Water Terras is phenomenal. And they actually U-turn, so they're probably Assault Vest on the instant as well then. It's pretty rare to run U-turn if you're not Assault Vest. Because, like, why would you give up, right? You want Fake Out, Parting Shot, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Will-O-Wisp Pod. So, that's good to know. Okay, Miraidon hits the field. I would guess Bundle now, too. But they can't Terra. And we have Assault Vest. Okay, they just bring Instant back in. I mean, you could Fake Out into Kyurem, Electric type attack into Indeedee. I don't mind switching Indeedee out into Ursaluna right now. And just going for Earth Power here. Onto Miraidon. I thought about double switching here, which I think is somewhat interesting, because I don't think Ninetales is actually that important to us right now. But I think with them having committed their Terra already on turn 1, we're in a prime spot to just try to set up Trick Room with Indeedee, and then use Ursaluna under Trick Room. Cool. They actually don't go for Fake Out. They just Volt Switch into Ursaluna. This is one of the reasons why it's really valuable to have a Ground-type Pokemon into Miraidon. Being able to make their Electric-type damage completely irrelevant is a really big deal. So they go for Knockoff onto Kyurem here. You can now Volt Switch into my Kyurem, which is fine. I am happy to... I'm actually considering just going for normal Terra here, because I don't think I need to Terra anything else. Although Grass Terra, I think on this can still be valuable to deal with Miraidon later on. So, okay, I'm down to just go for a regular Hyper Voice here. Pelipper should be their last one, right? So I think that should be what's coming out right now. Hyper Voice. And switch into Ninetales, I think is fine. I honestly think Kyurem probably eats that Volt Switch up, so maybe it's fine to just stay in here. I just think, like, Ninetales isn't that important for me at this part of the game, whereas the Kyurem offers me more damage output. Oh, it's actually Incineroar pivoting out. Okay, not what I've expected. Into Pelipper. So they were hoping maybe for me to Earth Power that slot. I think that's really smart, actually. But winning the Weather War is actually not that important to me right now. Yeah, good Volt Switch. Brings Ninetales down to Sash. Should be specs on that. But now I just get a big Hyper Voice off. And then the next turn I can go like Indeedee, switch an Indeedee to block Fake Out, for example, which is kind of neat. Okay. Yeah, I could switch an Indeedee, block Fake Out, and then go for something like Moonblast to try to just knock out Pelipper here. I'm not actually sure that gets the KO, looking at that damage. Gotta worry about Tailwind right now. If I normal Terra, like, I do become weak to... Or, like, electric type attacks actually become relevant against us. I don't think I want to commit my Terra yet. We ideally get Trick Room up with Indeedee. So I don't mind switching Blood Moon out into Kyurem right now. And going for Moonblast onto Pelipper. I just, right now, it's fine if they go for Fake Out and just get rid of the Ninetales, because then Kyurem's just out on the field. I assume they would click Fake Out into Ninetales here. Pelipper actually goes for Wide Guard, okay. That makes sense. And they don't go for Fake Out, so they're probably expecting maybe an Indeedee switch in. Moonblast actually does get that knockout, which is nice. I wasn't 100% sure of that, but this is max special attack Ninetales, which is pretty huge. Then knock off into Kyurem. Beautiful. So this is amazing because now we have terrain control, right? And so Indeedee is able to remove the electric terrain from their end. Miraidon's also just one attack away from getting KO'd. So let's see. How do we want to play this out? Like, it could discharge, but then you would be clicking discharge onto yourself, which obviously would not be ideal for them. I think it's fine. We don't need to switch either of these in because they're our main win cons at this point. Like, I'm okay just going for Earth Power here and Moonblast onto Miraidon. And to be honest, I don't expect to get either off here, but they just end up forfeiting. Yeah. Like, the problem is Miraidon has to lock into a move. If you lock into electric type attack, then the Blood Moon just completely walls you, right? So then it kind of feels like you're forced to click Draco Meteor, but if you click Draco Meteor, then you can't touch the Ninetales, and then Ninetales Moonblast just KOs you. So there's basically nothing I think my opponent could have done from that spot, since they did not get a single knockout up until that point. And what was obviously huge was just getting the knockout onto this arena on turn 1 with that Helping Hand Freeze Dry. Ooh, we have Zacian here. That is really cool. I think Zacian's been pretty underplayed so far, so I'm really excited to fight against it. Zacian, Peli, Urshi, Insane, Amoonguss, and Raging Bolt. One of the reasons why Kyurem was very unpopular in previous restricted format in 2022 was because of Zacian's existence, so it's kind of funny to see it here. Yeah, because Behemoth Blade is still really scary to go up against. I mean, Kyurem has a really good matchup against everything that's not Zacian. I am pretty worried about how we beat Zacian, actually. Thinking this could be an interesting angle for Milotic with Coil and Grass Terra. Part of me wants to go Trick Room with Indeedee. I could see them leading like Bolt Zacian, Amoonguss Zacian, with Peli in the back. This is tricky. How important is Ninetales in this game? Like, I'm basically thinking Milotic, Indeedee, Ursaluna, and Kyurem. The reason why I'm dropping Ninetales here is because, 1, I don't think I'll have that many opportunities to click Fake Tears. 2, with them having Pelipper, it's hard to set up Aurora Veil. And 3, I don't think having the snow is actually that important because, like, I have to deal with Wide Guard Pelipper as well as Pelipper changing the weather as well as Zacian resisting Blizzard. Maybe Urshifu, Water, and Zacian. Okay. Not a terrible lead for us. I would really like to go for something like Coil into Trick Room. I'm thinking Grass Terra here. I'm just really worried they are Scarf Urshifu and go for U-turn. But I'm down for Coil plus Trick Room here. With Citrus Berry and Grass Terra, this allows us to resist Surging Strikes as well. But they could just close combat, which is scary. I just think Trick Room is the way to approach this game, because Kyurem is just going to get dunked on by Zacian otherwise. They are U-turn, though. Oh, and it doesn't activate Citrus. I would have been better off not going for Terra there. I might have just survived Behemoth Blade, but now I'm just going to feint to it. Oh, that feels so bad. Is that Incineroar coming out? Oh, Raging Bolt. Okay. Oh, but they Sword Stance. Okay, that's huge. That gives me an opportunity here. That gives us a huge opportunity. As I get Trick Room up, now I can Hypnosis. Okay. It just feels like so bad because that was a waste of a Terra on NDD, but at least we get the Trick Room up. I am down to now go for Hypnosis onto this. It's awkward because I like want to bring in Ursaluna or Kyurem. Both of these could protect. It could be Assault Vest. We know Scarf is on Urshifu. Kyurem can Draco into this. Okay. I'm gonna follow me in Hypnosis here. Ideally, we put the Bolt to sleep and then get a free switch it into Ursaluna. Oh, that's really interesting speed ordering. Okay. Bolt is slower than us. That's great. That's great, because it means then that you have to take a guaranteed turn to sleep this next turn, assuming Hypnosis connects. And it does. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Very good. And presumably Behemoth Blade now. Or Play Rough. That makes sense. Okay, I can bring out Blood Moon then. Could be Blood Moon. Could just be Kyurem immediately. Thinking just going Kyurem. Also, earlier I said Draco Meteor onto Bolt. I meant Freeze Dry. Okay, I'm down for Ursaluna. We can get a knockout and force Urshifu out before Trick Room expires. That would be absolutely huge. This turn is a big deal. It's a question of whether or not we think Zacian protects, because I could go for another Coil. The safe play here, I'd say, is Hypnosis Zacian and just Earth Power into Raging Bolt. But we could miss, which is scary. I think I'm down for this, though. Bolt switches. Okay, maybe into Pelipper. Nope, into Urshifu. Okay, I'll take that. Zacian protects. Okay, that's totally fine with me. Because now your Urshifu is out. It means I can double up onto Zacian pretty safely this next turn. Wow, we almost just one-shot Urshifu. Nice. I would think Pelipper is your last one, right? So I think that's what also makes this interesting. 2 turns of Trick Room left. I'm personally thinking Zacian here pivots out into Pelipper. I'm actually thinking about Hypnosis and Hyper Voice here. Hyper Voice finishes off Urshifu. I think Zacian is just so exposed to Earth Power right now. I'm down for this. Yep, there's the switch. Okay, that's huge. Either way, I mean, I was thinking Pelipper, but maybe it just goes back out into Bolt, which looks like is the case. That's fine. Okay. The Milotic getting a single Coil off is so nice. I can click Hypnosis with just so much more confidence. That could have been another Coil this turn, but I think that would have been really risky. Zacian comes out again. The speed ordering goes, Milo's faster than this, so it's slower under Trick Room. But you haven't taken any sleep turns yet. So, like, Earth Power into this is guaranteed, more or less. I think going to Coil again. And Earth Power into... I'm actually thinking Earth Power into Zacian here. Because of the way the speed orders work. But I think it's fine to just take the knockout onto Bolt. Okay, they're going to Terra here. That makes me think Terra Zacian. But I guess you could Terra Bolt here to survive Earth Power. What Terra type are you? Grass. Okay. Maybe it was better to Hypnosis there then. Yeah, Earth Power gets that KO. What do they go for? We get another coil off. So now +2 defense and accuracy. Okay, just Behemoth Blade. Does this get a one-hit knockout onto us? Wait, this thing is so weak. What? How did it do that little? Oh my gosh. That was extremely underwhelming damage. I'll take it. I'll gladly take it. Now we look towards Hypnosising Zacian, I think. And Protect with Ursaluna. The problem here is that I have Kyurem in the back, so I need to position Kyurem correctly, right? And they don't Protect here, which is huge. So unless I get Hurricane confused right now, I should be in great shape. We had this game locked up without that crit. Oh, all those defense boosts just to go away to a crit. That is so unfortunate. To their credit, they also... I think here, like, I could have gone for Blood Moon onto Zacian. But yeah, basically, like, kudos to them for identifying that was their win con. They needed a crit or Confusion into Confusion hit. But essentially, if that doesn't happen, we put Zacian asleep. And then, like, you can maybe knock out Ursaluna, but then I just get to switch it into Kyurem. I do think I maybe should have Blood Moon there to cover for the crit, though. But, oh, wow. Unfortunate. I assume Kyurem's just going to get one-shot by Zacian here. I can't see us surviving, but... I guess I go for the Hail Mary. Like, somehow Kyurem survives. I Freeze Dry one-shot Pelipper, and then Blood Moon one-shots Zacian. But yeah, they just Behemoth Blade here. Yeah, and that's a KO. Well, Kyurem, not the most common restricted, but Zacian is going to have a really favorable matchup into it. I also could have gone for Hypnosis on that last turn of Trick Room, but I figured that they'd probably want to Protect there, and so I thought a second coil was relatively safe. So, I don't regret making that play. That crit is really unfortunate, and I think without it, we'd be in pretty good shape. The game wasn't guaranteed one yet, because Zacian could get a one-turn wake-up, right? Given that they doubled up onto Milotic, if I survived the turn, the next turn I would go for Blood Moon onto Zacian. So then I think the game actually might boil down to whether or not Zacian stays asleep for more than one turn. But the crit essentially just sealed their deal immediately. I think I had the opportunity then to actually just attack with Blood Moon in that position. I think what I was worried about was that my opponent just protects Zacian. Pelipper goes for Weather Ball, which knocks out my Blood Moon. And then I'm forced to bring out Kyurem. Kyurem can't protect, and then you Behemoth Blade to knock that slot out as well. So, yeah. This game highlights why Kyurem, of course, was not a very common pick in the previous restricted format. And we had to do work to try to set up Kyurem for success, but unfortunately I was not able to actually put that Zacian to sleep. And I had the opportunity to, like I said, go for Hypnosis on that last turn of Trick Room, but I didn't. And as a result, my opponent made that nice play of just going for Grass Terra and dealing damage. But yeah, its damage into Blood Moon was actually fairly underwhelming. It's just that it's obviously going to have a really good matchup into Kyurem. I think Kyurem is still worth bringing in this game because it's so strong into the rest of my opponent's team. And also with them having Grass Terra, if we were able to connect with Hypnosis, Kyurem would have been in a very good spot to just secure the game for us. But yeah, that is, of course, the downside when you go for Coil. You can't get crit. All right, we've got Kyogre here. So Landorus, Tornadus, Kyogre, Rillaboom, Farigiraf, and Archaludon. Kyurem should have a really good matchup here generally. Freeze Dry is awesome, and their team on their end is primarily special. Question is what I want to lead with. We also have to still respect just like how much damage Choice Specs Kyogre can do, for example. I'm thinking I want Kyurem plus Ninetales, which would force Tornadus to Rain Dance, basically. Urshifu plus Indeedee. This makes me a little Archaludon weak by not bringing Ursaluna, but I think Ursaluna is really hard to position properly in this game, right? It's like, if I want to use Ursaluna, I'd have to get it under Trick Room, essentially. I'd have to have Terrain up, and Kyogre would have to have taken some damage as well, because otherwise, like, Origin Pulse can just destroy me, unless I Terra normal. The idea is that Indeedee is helpful to change the terrain against Rillaboom. They're just going to go Tornadus Landorus. Okay, that's totally fine with me. Kind of expect something just like Rain Dance to come out here on turn 1 from Tornadus. I'm curious whether or not it's going to be Focus Sashed. Probably, right? I'm actually thinking about Freeze Dry Moonblast Tornadus here. Beautiful. And I think you should Rain Dance here personally, but maybe they just Tailwind. Oh, that works. Amazing. The logic here is Focus Sash Tornadus is just annoying for me, and I was hoping that they maybe click Rain Dance, because if you click Rain Dance, then it enables... I mean, one, like, yeah, it would get rid of Aurora Veil, or my ability to set up Aurora Veil, and two, obviously Blizzard doesn't become accurate anymore. This works out even better for us because they don't end up setting Tailwind. What I was hoping for with this lead is basically to force them to click Rain Dance or switch into Kyogre. They're going to do that now. Okay. Cool. Works for me. We have Scarf Ursh in the back, which is obviously really good. I could fake Tears right now. Low-key, I'm kind of down for that. Like, Freeze Dry into Kyogre and fake Tears into it. I can't. I'm taunted. Doi. Well, knowing that I have Ursh in the back, I think I'm down to just Freeze Dry Kyogre here in Blizzard. We miss. Double miss. It's a little unfortunate. I think if we connect there, the game's just over. But they're going to Sludge Bomb into Ninetales, which is fine. It's worth going for Blizzard there because it's like you have a pretty good chance to just get the knockout outright onto Landorus. I could have switched Ninetales out here into Indeedee, but I didn't honestly find that super worth it. Maybe actually, I think sacrificing Indeedee there is not a bad idea. Oh, but look how much damage Freeze Dry does. That's just insane. So now I just get Urshifu out. And they don't have speed control, right? Which is huge. I think their best bet would probably be a switch into our Chaladon right now. Surging Strikes clears this pretty easily. Mainly worried about this going for a Terra. But Ursh is really well positioned. I would think Rillaboom is their last one personally, so I think a Rilla switch would make some sense here. I'm down to Freeze Dry into Landorus then, and Strikes into Kyogre. Oh, neither switch out. Okay. Well, no Terra, no switch. So we just knock out Kyogre. Cool. They probably just Earth Power into Urshifu. I knock out Landorus, and then it's a 2v1 against their final Pokemon. Oh, Sansear. And we survive on 1 HP despite not being Focus Sashed. Wow. Cool. I actually thought we would take Sansear a little bit better there, admittedly. But this has been a very fast-paced game. It's only been 2 turns. But Kyurem-White generally should have a really favorable matchup into Kyogre teams. I'm thinking they don't have our Chaladon in the back, because otherwise I would have expected them to switch into it. And yep, that's exactly the case. It's Rillaboom in the back. So yeah, I think Kyurem Ninetales alone just has such a good matchup here. And even though we double missed Blizzard, it was totally fine. I mean, missing on Kyogre doesn't make a difference at all. I'm down to just switch Kyurem out into Indeedee, and then go for Surging Strikes onto Rillaboom. This just changes the terrain. Rillaboom can't handle 3 Pokemon all at once, essentially. If you knock out the Urshifu, then Kyurem comes back out, and I just go for Follow Me, plus an attack into Rillaboom. So we're going to pivot out here. I'm actually surprised our Chaladon didn't come out. That was the Pokemon I was most worried about in this matchup, and I think the fact they didn't bring it made this easier for us. But I'll gladly take that. Oh, they're actually going to Terra here. Okay. I'm curious what you Terra into. Like, fire and water are pretty common here. So... Oh, it's Terra Grass. Okay, so you get to do a little bit more damage now, at least. But it's fine, right? It's like, you can't knock out everything. And if you're going for Wood Hammer, you just take so much recoil. Also, Surging Strikes and Rain actually does meaningful damage. So yeah, like, we're going to do, like, half their health from this, essentially. And then the next turn, I can just, if they don't knock out Urshifu, I just Water Terra Helping Hand Surging Strikes. And if you KO me, I just bring Kyurem out. There's Woodhammer. I guess onto the NDD slot. Yep. 2 different invisible focus sashes in this game. Wow. Surviving on 1 HP there as well. I honestly kind of want to Kyurem to come out and deliver the finishing blow, but some crazy survivals here. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what we go for here. You don't have priority anymore, and Surging Strike just finishes the game. But yeah, basically, like, what's really nice about Kyurem is it kind of forces these Tornadoes to make the decision, right? Do I want to click Tailwind or do I want to click Rain Dance? Landers being led also put me into a really favorable spot because that's obviously so weak into the combination of Kyurem and Ninetales, and so I'd say we had a favorable matchup already, and my opponent brought Pokemon that made it even more difficult for them. So, yeah. Ultimately, I think one of the things we could have considered was that turn that I ended up having the Ninetales go for Blizzard. Like, I could have switched out into Indeedee that turn. But I figured Blizzard was worth it because even though, like, Rain is up, if we connect and the Landers doesn't Terra, like, that just wins us the game immediately a lot of the times because then we're just up 3-2, even if the Ninetales faints. And Ninetales actually, if Blizzard connects and you don't Terra Landers, it shouldn't faint because Sash is still intact, right? And in my head, I was like, okay, if I have a 4-2 lead and I have Ninetales and Indeedee, it's like then I can switch in Indeedee to change the terrain, and I can switch Ninetales back out to change the weather, and then I'm up like 4-2 or maybe 3-2 if you get a knockout with weather and terrain to control. I don't really see how you come back from that, especially with Scarfursh in the back. So that was kind of the reasoning there, but I think you could make an argument for switching out Ninetales that turn as well. All right, we've got a Miraidon team here with Tornadus, Farigiraf, Fire Ogerpon, Blood Moon, and Iron Leaves. You replace Leaves with Hands, and that's one of the Miraidon teams that's running around right now. It is an adaptation of the Farigiraf, Blood Moon, Hand stuff that was doing really well in the previous format. Blizzard looks amazing here, but in order to get it, well, one, I'm curious if Tornadus actually has Weather here. I wouldn't count on it, actually. I'm kind of down to just go Ninetales Kyurem, honestly. In the back, I think just Ursh and Ursaluna. Maybe it's a mistake to not bring Indeedee here. Like, Indeedee does give me redirection and terrain control. I think dropping one of Ursh or Blood Moon for Indeedee makes sense here. But I'm thinking Assault Vest Kyurem here just does a lot of damage. Their best bet as a response would be something like Tornadus, Ogerpon lead, with Leaves and Miraidon in the back. Turn 1, you could just go for something like Tailwind or Sunny Day if you have it. Sunny Day would actually be insanely powerful for them here because you could just Sunny Day, Terra Ogre, and then Ivy Cudgel. Also curious if Leaves ends up making an appearance here. It's a cool Pokemon. So, let's see. I think Kyurem looks really good here. And Blizzard spam also looks really good if we can get it off. But if I were them, I would prioritize tearing Ogerpon for that reason. But it's going to be Torn Miraidon, which I'm happy to see. Okay. I guess the interesting thing here is like they theoretically could just launch Draco Meteor immediately into Kyurem. So then the debate is whether or not I want to consider Ferrotearing here to get around Draco, because otherwise you could just Volt Switch Miraidon into Ninetales. I honestly don't hate Terra here in Double Blizzard. They're going to Terra as well, okay? Into Electric. Alright, if they made the play and went Volt Switch into Kyurem, that would be very well done by them. And it's not totally uncommon, but I'm thinking I have the advantage here because Kyurem's not exactly a very common Pokemon, so I'm thinking my opponent might just say, you know what, I have a free Tailwind Draco Meteor in you right now. The game literally could be decided on this turn right now, given how both of our restricteds are out on the field. Okay, they Tailwind, that's fine. You're already going to be faster than me, so I don't really mind that. Okay, they end up going for Electro Drift. Nicely done. But they target the Ninetales slot, so this is totally fine. I think Blizzard, Double Blizzard might get a knockout here on a Kyurem. Let's see. Or sorry, onto Miraidon. That actually did a lot less than expected, so probably not. Good damage, though. I mean, really good damage. Crit the Torn. And we get the freeze. Nice. This is one of the upsides of Double Blizzard. Your chances of getting a freeze are actually not terribly slim. So that puts them in a tough spot going into this next turn. We'll see if they thaw out immediately. Because they obviously right now you can just launch Electro Drift onto the Kyurem slot. So then I think I'll probably actually want to switch Kyurem out into Blood Moon to cover for that. Ogerpon just comes out, okay. Yeah, I think the main debate right now is, do I want to take the chance that they, you know, thaw out immediately here with Miraidon? Because you replace the Electro Drift Kyurem and then just target down Ninetales. I think it feels like an 80% chance to just win the game right now, because like Blizzard into Aqua Jet might just finish off Ogerpon. Okay, I'm down to stay in here. Nice, Miraidon stays frozen. Freeze is just like an inherently broken status in this game, and so when you get it, you should definitely leverage and take advantage of it as much as you can. I think here it's just because we were offered the freeze, we were in such a good spot. Like, I think if we didn't get the freeze, I would definitely be pivoting out into the Ursaluna that I have in the back. Blizzard did do a little bit less than I would have hoped. So, like, I don't think that Ogerpon's actually an Aqua Jet KO range, and so I got to still be a little bit careful here. But I think I'm fine just bring out Ursaluna, because I can just protect to stall out another turn of Tailwind, and then we have late game Surging Strikes with Urshifu. Ooh, Iron Leaves makes an appearance. That's cool. Quark Drive. Speed? Okay. This is bulky Ursaluna, though, so we should be able to tank an attack here. 2 turns of Tailwind, 3 turns of Snow. I'm down to just Blood Moon into this and Blizzard. I don't think you can pick up 2 knockouts right now on both of my Pokemon, so if you knock out one and I get a knockout in return, that trade is totally worth it. Yeah, this has been a fast-paced game, and okay, it's just gonna be Psyblade here. That's fine. Kyurem takes that. Yep, they're gonna double up with Ivy Cudgel here as well. So Kyurem's gonna faint, but that's more than okay with me. We get Blood Moon off now. Could have been Hyper Voice here, but I think I was probably worried about Protect or Spiky Shield Ogerpon and then leaves into the Ursaluna slot. And they survive because they're not... Whoa, that wasn't Sash. They're just Eevee to survive. That's impressive. Okay. That is really wild. That's impressive. It has, like, what looks like exactly 1 HP. Ooh, that makes this interesting if you end up having Horn Leech as your grass type attack. Because essentially right now I can just Hyper Voice and Aqua Jet. I think I'll just go for that, yeah. Okay. I figured the play I made works because I didn't think that Leaves would actually survive in that situation. But the fact that it survives means that if you do have Horn Leech here and you get a knockout, it's scary. But it's just going to be Woodhammer. Cool. So with that, you take enough recoil where Aqua Jet just finishes off Ogre. And it's normally Woodhammer on these teams. So I figured that'd be the case. They actually just end up fainting from recoil. Nice. But this game shows why Scarf Aqua Jet is still really valuable, right? Like, without Aqua Jet, they would have just outpaced us, and that would have been really bad. But having some priority when your opponent has Tailwind is really valuable. So, yeah. Fast-paced game, but this one was definitely highlighted the value of, you know, Kyurem being able to get these freezes off. When you have the Kyurem plus the Ninetales lead and have these opportunity to get freezes, it can put your opponent into really difficult positions. And that single freeze just put us into a really good spot immediately after they didn't thaw it on the second turn. Whoa, we've got Eternatus here with Araquanid, Rilla, Incin, Ursh, and Flutter. I have not fought against an Eternatus at all so far, so this should be really interesting. When people use Eternatus in like 2022, Meteor Beam, Power Herb was a decently common set. I think Kyurem offensively looks fantastic here. Grass Terra Milotic is actually really interesting as well, both offensively and defensively. Less so offensively, I guess. Like, it's not like Skull's really doing that much, but we can put things to sleep with Hypnosis. I like leading Kyurem. Kyurem Ursh is interesting to me. I guess Ursaluna offers so much damage. It's actually kind of hard to figure out who to drop in this one. Because, like, Ninetales' damage is actually pretty important, too. I might actually just go with Ninetales and Kyurem. They don't have weather control, so like what's stopping me from just leading this? I like the idea of bringing Indy to block Fake Out here and get terrain control. I think I probably drop Milotic just because it's really weak into Eternatus. And I think I like Ursaluna as offense for the fourth one. It gives me something to nuke things with Blood Moon. But I think generally Kyurem should be our primary carry here. I just don't really know very much about Eternatus specifically in this format, so I'm excited to fight against it. Instant Flutter. Okay. This to me feels like probably just switch in Indeedee turn 1. Fairy Terra Blizzard. This is where Milotic would have been really interesting, right? Like, I didn't think they'd actually prioritize Incineroar here, but it makes sense given the double snow or double ice types. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I mind going for Terra and just Blizzard immediately and then switch into Indeedee. Speed Booster Flutter's not that scary damage-wise. I think the main thing we're probably worried about is Taunt from it onto Indeedee in the subsequent turns. It'd make me really happy if Incineroar tried to click Fake Out here on turn 1, because then the second turn I can just go Helping Hand Earth Power to get rid of Incin. But a lot of players are smart and don't end up clicking Fake Out here and just go for like Parting Shot or Knockoff. So turn 1's already a really big deal. I think if you make the mistake and click Fake Out here, I get to capitalize off it a ton. Nice. That's huge. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Didn't expect that. It's a little spooky, but I can just Trick Room now. That sucks. Okay. That's definitely not what I expected. I'm happy to Blizzard and Trick Room. This might be Thunder Wave and Taunt on Flutter. It's just a shame because we would have gotten a lot of free damage there on turn 1. But Speed Booster Thunder Wave Flutter has been popping up more recently as a means of speed control. And of course, one of the added benefits, in addition to paralyzing something and slowing it down, is just inability to move. I think it's interesting, though, because now Incineroar is going to be faster than us, so it makes me wonder. And they go for Icy Wind. Wow. Okay. So double speed control with Icy Wind and Thunder Wave. Huh. And knock off into Kyurem rather than Indeedee. Okay, I'll gladly take that. Kyurem gets Blizzard off here. Nice. And Trick Room gets set up. Okay, awesome. Not a bad turn. Not how I expected this early game to play out, that's for sure. But now I can go for Earth Power and Helping Hand. This was the setup I was hoping to go for initially after turn 1. We've got Ursaluna in the back as well, which is big. And because they paralyzed us, it's like now Araquanid... Well, actually, Araquanid might still be faster than us under Trick Room. But now we outpace Incineroar under Trick Room, so we get a knockout onto it. Beautiful. And, like, I don't know what Flutter really can do here, right? You click Thunder Wave, you click Icy Wind, you click Moonblast. A special attack drop is the answer, I guess. It's been a frustrating start, but it's okay. They bring Rillaboom out, okay. If you're bringing Rillaboom out, I mean, Eternatus should be your last one. You have Fake Out Pressure right now. You could Grassy Glide. I want to pivot Indeedee out for sure into Ninetales. Not a Blizzard here. I'm bringing Ninetales. I think the Thunder Wave works against them because I have Trick Room here, right? So now I'm curious, like, do you just go for Grassy Glide? I think that would certainly make sense. Nope, just Fake Out. That's fine. We flinch, and then you Moonblast probably onto that slot. Yep. But we survive. Another drop. Oh my gosh. Well, that's mildly frustrating. 2 turns of Trick Room left. We can honestly get a second Trick Room up in this game, I think. Like, I want to switch Kyurem out into Indy right now. I might actually just sacrifice Kyurem, to be honest. I could see them wood hammering this slot as well, expecting Indy to come in. Yeah, I'm actually just going to click Blizzard with both Mons here. Okay, they're going to Terra. Probably Fire Terra Rillaboom, if I had to guess. Yeah. This is fine. What we're setting ourselves up for in this endgame is going for Grass Terra with Indy and then setting up a second Trick Room in this battle. Yep, and you see, they did not go for Grassy Glide, probably going for Woodhammer. Yep, onto the Ninetales slot, that's fine. We survive that. We get another Blizzard off here. Flutter actually takes that, and then Moonblast finishes us off, but that's fine. I think the main thing I'm worried about right now is just getting paralyzed by the Flutter. Snow stops. Let's actually think about this. I think we can just bring out Ursaluna right now. One turn of Trick Room. Also, sorry, I said Terra Indy earlier, but obviously I'd already Terra'd. But this is fine, because I think I just go Blood Moon here and then switch into Indy. Change the terrain, get the knockout onto Rilla. Flutter. This Flutter set is not very good into our team. Although, I say that after it, like, paralyzes Kyurem, gets a full para, and then 2 special attack drops. So, it's honestly done as much as it possibly could in a matchup like this. Because it's like, you normally want to use this for, like, really good speed control, but with us having Trick Room, a lot of that speed control is actually irrelevant. Not a lot, it basically is irrelevant. In fact, it benefited me because it allowed Kyurem to outpace my opponent. Cool, Flutter protects. Yeah, there's no reason to target that slot. Like, Moonblast, Icy Wind, Thunderwave, that moveset is not threatening to us. So, we get to snipe off the Rillaboom here. Perfect. And like I said, I think Eternatus should be their last one. And they've already committed their Terra, so you can't Terra Eternatus from this point onwards. Trick Room ends. I'd be shocked if they drop their restricted here. Yep, there it is. Moonblast, Meteor Beam, double up onto Indy. We very easily still could lose this game, I think. Basically, I'm wondering, like, if you Moonblast, Meteor Beam, Indy, and I protect Ursaluna, that would be really bad, but they could also double up onto Ursaluna, so I actually think I want to just Hyper Voice and Trick Room right now. Because our Pokemon are going to be slower than theirs. Okay, yeah, they Moonblast into Ursa. And Dynamax Cannon. That's fine. Because I get Trick Room, and now I can just go for Helping Hand Blizzard. And their Life Orb. Okay, cool. I guess I risked Eternatus being really slow for some reason. That also could have been to Follow Me. I think Follow Me Hyper Voice here actually worked. Yeah. I like that play more. I think this play is also fine, but now I'm relying on Ninetales. Yeah, I'm down to just Helping Hand Blizzard. Okay. Cool. Eternatus did end up surviving, though, so even though I'm going to win this game, the end game was quite sloppy, in my opinion. What the right play probably should have been, I think Follow Me Blizzard also would have worked. I just figured Helping Hand Blizzard would get the double knockout, but the way I could have lost this game is if they just protected Flutter Mane. Actually, I think I still would have been fine, to be honest, because, like, the Indy has Citrus Berry. Yeah, you need to just go for a bunch of protects right now, but I don't think you're KOing me afterwards anyway. But, like, I think Follow Me and Hyper Voice would have totally been acceptable in this game. Or Follow Me Earth Power into Eternatus, to be honest. Like, I think I tunnel visioned a little bit too hard and, like, didn't fully think through this endgame and had a easier chance to win. Like, we should still be fine here. I mean, you're going to go for double protect again, but it's like, now I open the chance to losing to a double protect into a critical hit Dynamax Cannon, for example. And there's no reason to allow your opponent to have a chance to win when you can have, like, a guaranteed victory. So, it was pretty sloppy play for me in this endgame, honestly. I think part of it is just, like, I see Eternatus, I'm not really sure, like, what it's going to do, and I had thought a lot about this like Meteor Beam option, and I didn't even consider the option of Follow Me that turn. But yeah, I think Follow Me Hyper Voice is totally fine. If you're Power Herb and you go for Power Herb Meteor Beam, unless you crit the Entity, like you're not knocking it out. So then, yeah, I think like Follow Me Hyper Voice, or sorry, Follow Me Earth Power works. Follow Me Hyper Voice works. Both of those are acceptable. And to my opponent's credit, they did make the nice play of actually doubling up onto Ursaluna. And it's like, if you don't double up onto it, I probably just win the game immediately from, like if you double up onto Entity, then Ursaluna gets Hyper Voice off, and then it's 2v1. So I had a big enough lead where I could have closed this game out in a lot of different ways, but it's like, I gave my opponent a very small chance to potentially win this game when there was no reason for that. And I think Follow Me Hyper Voice or Follow Me Earth Power is just a little bit better on average, especially because it's like, Flutter Mane isn't really that scary when it's Moonblasting into the Entity slot. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Kyurem-White was honestly really impressive in today's episode, and hopefully you guys have now seen the amount of damage that this Pokemon can do across the board. Freeze, Dry, and Blizzard, incredible combination of attacks, and having so much coverage with Ice, Fire, as well as Ground is awesome. So really fun to feature this Pokemon, and I think it's a lot more legit than people give it credit for. So yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.